Cheers to you, shitlords and shitladies of the internet. It's the hamster in the man suit, Jeff, here to talk about fucking Gamergate again. There's going to be a little background noise in this video. The person who, the homeowner that we rent from pays to do the fucking trimming and stuff like that is doing the monthly trim. It is whatever. It's parent-teacher meeting day, so... and no... so, yay. As usual, it's going to be a little rambly, hopefully with at least one or two themes overarching, but since I don't script, we're going to fly by ear. But I do want to respond to some of the things I saw from the Anita video and some of the other people's responses in general. I still haven't watched Thunderfoots, although I'm pretty sure most of this stuff I'm going to agree with. But to the comment section of my own video, which got a lot more goddamn fucking views than I expected, let's just say this. I was completely sober. That was entirely me being slightly drunk on depression, anger, and lack of sleep. I hadn't had a drink since Monday, and so that was that. I don't believe there is enough evidence to support the hypothesis that John McIntosh and Anita Sarkeesian are the same person on Twitter. I don't, that she used a puppet that he holds up to basically to deflect himself from any criticism of him being a man telling women how to live their lives. I believe that would rob her of the agency of being a shitty human being, which I'd still believe that's what those tweets essentially say. Whether or not she believes it or not, whether or not she's put her face on it, she's agreed to do it. But tinfoil hat brigade, go, because if we find evidence of it, go nuts. Evidence is necessary. But I'd want to move forward to MundaneMatt's response. I'm going to try to link it below, remember to, at least, talking about whether or not Anita Sarkeesian is a misandrist. And his stance that this basically firmly proves that she is 100% misandrist. I told that to my wife. My wife had a laugh, and she's like, "How the fuck don't people notice that now? How is that in dispute?" She talks about how toxic and horrible men are all the goddamn time. And my response is basically Gamergate and misandrist is a joke. If you say someone's a misandrist, you're basically saying, I don't believe in, the way people on the internet act, the way people in the games journalism acts. Saying someone's a misandrist is like saying you don't believe in the Holocaust. It's not, but that's the way they treat it, is this like ludicrous thing. But I do disagree with MundaneMatt on one very important point to me. I don't believe she's a misandrist. I believe she's a misanthropist. She's not fighting for women, she's fighting for a political ideologue, a political ideology, and she's willing to sacrifice the fight for women to get it. She's not a misandrist. She is a misanthropist. She believes that everyone is flawed and broken and damaged, and therefore needs to be saved. And that's why she can so easily dismiss people in the Not Your Shield hashtag, or women who disagree with her, as internalized misogyny and things like that, is because she doesn't actually like women as a gender either.
Dad.
Hey, buddy.
Dad, I got Fruit Loops. Dad, I'm eating.
I know you're eating your Fruit Loops, buddy.
Dad, I got lunch.
I know you got a lunch. Come here.
Yeah.
Say hi.
Hi. Hi. Hello, Mr. Kara.
Okay. Go watch Markiplier, okay?
I'll see you. Bye.
That's Markiplier died.
I know. Go watch your videos. Yeah, you can see the toxic masculinity already forming. Clearly destined to be a school shooter or a rapist. That, ladies and gentlemen, is what pissed me off. The disposition that it is predetermined that masculinity is ultimately the source of the breeding of murderers and psychopaths, when oftentimes it's mental. Well, let's be fair. It's always fucking mental illness. And to discount that from the discussion is congratulations, you've cured psychology. It's defaults down to one of three things. Are you a man? Well, then toxic masculinity did it. Or if you're not a man, have you ever known or are related to a man? If yes, then toxic masculinity. If no, if you never were around men, you didn't know your father, well, it's because you were lacking a male figure, and his absence is to blame. It's the same thing when I was a kid in the late 80s, early 90s. They started a whole trend of blaming mom for every goddamn time a fucking teenager did anything, it was mom's fault. So, that's all this is. This is the reversal of that. Is now it's the fault of not so much dad as just the fact that dad might have a penis. You okay, buddy? He's fine. We're sick. He's an elementary school student, and he's brought something home. So, we're being prone to coughing fits. That was just a long one, and he's eating Fruit Loops, so that's where he was joking. Moving on. Let's move on completely. Like I said, I'm staunchly in the view that she's not a misandrist, she's a misanthropist. She hates or has a intolerant view, essentially, of the basic nature of humanity. Part of which is a binary structure, and I'm sorry for those of you out there who believe you're a third or a fourth gender. It's a binary structure, male and female. You can be whichever one you like. That's why I'm using gender, not sex. But at the end of the day, anything in between is simply counting yourself out of that structure. Society hasn't been built on asexual people. I'm assuming if you're asexual, you probably realize that. But for those people who are going to leap to the defense from Tumblr that, she's trying to create a war between masculinity and femininity. And she's trying to do it by claiming that masculinity has toxic elements in it that need to be essentially expunged. Hence the camp rant at the end of the last video. But let's move on to more specifically Gamergate information. Let's move on to more Gamergate topic. Who here, whether you're in Gamergate or not, but mostly my compatriots in Gamergate, who here has heard in the last weekend a lot of people stop talking about trying to argue with us that it's about harassment and argue with us that it's not about ethics in the wake of the Newsweek article. Because I've seen it a lot. So go ahead and raise your hand. I'm not going to be able to fucking see it, so it doesn't matter if you do or not, but the argument is now, well, if it was about ethics, you should only tweet ethics in the hashtag. It would come up more in the hashtag if it was only about ethics. When you search ethics in Gamergate, it would come up all the time. Except we're also using it as a flag to keep in touch with each other. But what this is it's an incitement to just not use the hashtag as much. So it looks like the numbers of people who use Gamergate are waning. So they can start going, oh my god, look, they're starting to realize. And that's, honestly, they'd love for us to start realizing to leave the hashtag, because then they honestly could do what minor reforms they want to do, if they want to do them. The problem is, for a lot of these journalists, like I've said before, if they admit failure now, if they admit a mistake now publicly, if they have to admit that Gamergate has some points, they have to essentially say we are flawed. If they can say we got rid of Gamergate, then they can make changes, as they will, but they won't, because then they'll have got rid of the only people who are standing up and giving a voice to the voiceless, and that's what all of us are. Autistic, low or high functioning, middle functioning, fucking deviant psychology, normal people, and I'm sure there's gonna be some of you who get hackles raised over normal, but autism deviates from normal. Schizophrenia deviates from normal. Normal is simply the median population. It's not a judgment call. It's median population. It's not intended to be offensive. It's intended to basically be a word I can use to describe people who don't fit into any of the other categories but are a mass of the majority of the human population. I hate having to explain that, but I'd rather do it here before you guys get mad in the comments at me about it. All of us are voiceless. We rely on our games journalists. As Eric Kane said, it isn't the job of the consumer to protect the critic, no, protect the company from the critic. It's the job of the critic to protect the consumer from the company. Absolutely. And the game journalists are our critics. And they've decided it's the company that they're going to fucking protect. Not all the companies. Not the companies they don't like, or that have different politics than them, or that don't fucking give them enough gifts. They're going to protect the fucking companies and the devs that they're friends with, that they're fucking, that they've lived with. Fuck them. Tear it down. Tear it all down. Let's stop trying to make peace. And I've said before, I default to neutral. My wife has been irritated with me because I default to neutral. But they have made it clear over a fucking, almost 9-week, 10-week harassment and smear campaign through the internet and media. They've made it clear they have no interest in peace. They have interest in subjugation. This isn't a war. To Roguestar, if you're seeing this, this isn't a war. A war implies a foreign party, a foreign body. These aren't foreigners that we're fighting. They're not foreign to gaming. Because we include everyone who wants to be included. They're not foreign. We're not at war with a foreign party. We're overthrowing the aristocracy. I'm not saying we go full-on fucking communist. Trust me, let's look at history. It doesn't work. But let's move it towards democracy. They've put themselves into a position of power, and then they have told us that we cannot vote with our wallets, which was the only vote we had. That voting with our wallets is censoring them, is shutting them up, and trying to acts of terror. Well, what else is the elite going to call the people trying to tear down the Pearl Towers? The Ivory Towers. Pearl Towers. Fucking towers full of cum. But these people talking more about ethics, fuck them. Attach the hashtag dick pics. I don't give a shit at this point. Zen of Design, he can go suck a dick. Zen of Design is a cunt. I understand that's a gendered slur, but technically he's not the right gender, so I'm using it appropriately. Right, guys? He's a shitheel. He doesn't like Gamergate. He doesn't agree with Gamergate, but he's got advice for us. And now he's tweeting the fucking We Hunt Mammoths article. I don't even know what the fuck that is. It's either it's an article about Anita Sarkeesian and the poor Anita Sarkeesian and the harassment she got for tweeting just an honest opinion, the opinion I got pissed off about for 30 minutes last Friday. And all the poor harassment, all the horrible harassment poor Anita got. And it's just a shame. It's a reasonable opinion. I mean, all these shooters are men. Well, most of them are men. And that really does suggest that there's toxicity in the masculine culture, in the male culture. Because women don't exist in the male culture, right? My mom never told me be a man. Man up. It's all men. Now, Should we be telling our kids to be more prototypical male? I don't know. My parenting style is probably not your parenting style. No matter who you are, we're all going to be a little different. When I was growing up, I'm not sure if you can tell through the personal aesthetic, the fucking facial hair, the tone of voice, and the mannerisms. I am not the most masculine, manly man. I am much more sensitive in nature. My wife works a blue-collar job, and I'm the one who stays home with the kid. That should explain to you how many times in my life my good old boy Alabama dad told me I should probably man up. Be a man. My mom's from Georgia, my dad's from Alabama. That should give you a fairly clear representation of how many times in my life I've heard that's not manly or be more manly. I have yet to shoot anybody. You know why? Because I don't suffer from a suite of mental illnesses that would cause violence. But that's... Can you tell I'm still pissed off about that? But we were talking ethics, right? There's been a lot of, well, it's not about ethics. And then I saw, nice moving the goalpost someone did. Someone's like, well, it's the Game Trainer Pros list here. And they're like, well, I don't see any of the emails where it says we're going to collude to give favorable coverage to Zoe Quinn. No. But she was fucking Nathan Grayson during the period of time where he was giving her favorable coverage. Another person apparently he's friends with got favorable coverage for 4 fucking months in the lead up to that guy's game release. Specifically from Nathan Grayson. That's called cronyism, and it's unethical. We're not saying Game Journal Pros colluded to give Zoe Quinn favorable press. We're saying they colluded to conceal information about a conflict of interest in their house, in the house of one of them. These are competitors cooperating to shut down information about competitors that could make that competitor look bad. That's conspiracy. That's a conspiracy. And I'm sorry if you're, those of you in the anti-ethics group, in the anti-Gamergate group, I'm sorry if you're so used to having people think for you that you can't put that together yourself. I truly am. But a lot of the people in Gamergate are skeptics. And so we're used to having to get the information ourselves and put together ourselves. I like one person's suggestion that we're anti-women because we support C.H. Summers. We're anti-feminism because we support Christina Hoff Sommers. And to that person I say, you can go fuck yourself. Yeah, she speaks a lot about third-wave feminism and how goddamn wackadoo it is. But you know what a lot of third-wave feminists aren't doing when they're marching on Washington so they can... fuck, I don't know what the fuck they march on Washington nowadays. You know what they're not marching for? That little girl in fucking Iran, that young woman in Iran who got fucking hung this weekend because she killed the guy who was trying to rape her. No one's standing up for her. None of you motherfuckers are, anyways. Fucking Amnesty International tried to fucking do something about it, but I found out about it after she was fucking hung. But you want to talk about where feminism's needed? Where a woman's voice needs to be fucking heard and things need to be changed? Is it really still America? Is it really still fucking movies and video games that are perpetuate? How many video games do the Shahs of Iran play that this is a law in their books that's been around since before video games? I'll give you a minute to answer. Oh, right. It's part of Western culture and therefore evil. The toxic masculinity thing's still pissing me off. So for me, a little bit about that now. The fact that not a single goddamn journalist I fucking sent the message to asking why is this okay, except for Leanna Kerner, got back to me. And Leanna Kerner's response was guarded and sounded afraid to me. I'm like, hey, is this what we should listen and believe? She's like, no one listens to me, they just yell at me. I'm like, but why is this okay? Her response is, it's not. And that's the best response I've gotten out of any of the fucking game journalists. Any of the people who are moderate, any of the people who are anti-Gamergate. The best response I got was from Leanna Kerner, simply, it's not. Eric Kane was tweeted in that message too, but he's too busy. He's too busy retweeting Zen of Design's tweets. But he's a moderate, right? He's ethical, right? And let's get to that. It's been, let's say, 9 weeks. I'm not good with dates, but let's say 2 months to 9 weeks. That's 8 to 9 weeks. It's been in that rough group. Where are all the ethical people from the Game Journal Pros list? Because when it first dropped and people dropped the list of names, you're like, there are some really ethical people in that, and don't you fucking say anything bad about this person because I don't fucking remember the names. Where are they? Where are these ethical people who would do what's right while this is going on? Where were they when this was when their friend was being blacklisted 4 years ago? Their colleague was being blacklisted. Where were they? I don't believe in guilt by association. I believe in guilt by action or inaction. But by inaction, they perpetuated a culture within game journalism that allowed for a very cancerous position to become the norm. Why aren't they standing up now? Where are they? Before you go to another Kotaku or Polygon link, think about it. Where are they? Where was Greg Tito and his high ethical standards that he didn't fucking leak this information? Where are all these people that this fucking information never goddamn hit the light of day until it was fucking too late? Where are their ethics? But we're not allowed to question that because they're ethical, right? Because they say so. Like Gawker. The more we find out about Gawker, the worse and worse it looks the next few years look for them. Looks like they're losing their goddamn class action lawsuit, which is yes, the fucking interns might actually get paid for their fucking work, which take a nice hefty chunk out of the fucking Cayman Islands owned Gawker. Sam Biddle's being promoted to an almost invisible department that he'll now be head of, which will be cyber cryptography and cybersecurity. So I'm sure we're going to be hearing a lot from him in articles soon. And hey, what do you know? Chris Clue, at Chris Warcraft, who wrote a whole scathing article about how people in Gamergate are just cowards and they should be ashamed of themselves, again, trying to shame us out of Gamergate. Turns out he works for Gawker. It's almost like there's some kind of cooperation going on to make us ashamed to be in Gamergate and to support the idea of reformation in journalism. You'd almost think it was a coordinated effort. But let's move on to more positive news, shall we? More positive things. Nintendo continues to be fucking awesome. I guess the term on the internet is based. I actually had to fucking research that. So many of the fucking things you guys say on Twitter, I actually have to fucking Google or ask because I can't fucking find it in Google. Fucking swerf was one. Sex worker exclusive radical feminist. I had to Google that phrase, and what Google I got was not that. So don't always tell people to fucking Google phrases that you use, because swerf, according to Google, is solid waste and energy recycling facility. We're all one of those, but fucking So they're working with Playboy now to promote Bayonetta 2 because apparently fuck the game journalists and fuck the whole it's sexism. Sure, fuck it. She's sexy. Take a look at people dressing up, cosplaying as her, and then slowly getting out of the cosplay. Fucking the fucking the fucking goddamn shark-toothed lawyer who's sided with Gamergate to an extent. Mike Cernovich. He's one of Zoe Quinn's friends has doxed, and then she spread the dox around, and fucking threatened to swat him. So he's suing her. That's fantastic. Yeah, she doxed him, and her argument is, well, it's public record. It's all public record. It's all stuff that I can find through just going through public records. Therefore, it's not really doxing. So, with the public records she had in hand, he doxed her right the fuck back. And it sucks. I'm not going to list her name here. I'm not going to fucking do the research. You're making the argument to someone who has access to a lot more public records than you do that it's okay if it's public record, if you could get it through legal means, public means, then it's okay. But now, let's get to the best part. Gawker Media, there's a tweet going around about Gawker Media. It's called Operation Baby Seal. It's a fantastic name. It sounds absolutely fucking horrible, but we are just, at this point, clubbing a helpless victim. They're not helpless. They've got a lot of friends in the fucking industry, but the fucking Columbia Journalist Review is like, man, Gawker's getting hit pretty hard, and they're not used to that. They're used to being the bullies and the blackmailers. It's like, haha. But fucking, it lists every goddamn terms of service violation that they have made in the last 4 years for Amazon and Google's advertiser terms of service. So get that tweet. Include it in your email. Send them on out there. Let's get Amazon and Google off Gawker. And that, come on. I'm still losing webcomics I read because of people like, well, it's just a fucking hate movement. I checked 2 game sites. They said it's a hate movement. It's like, okay. The sad one is GU Comics. Anyone who reads it /GU Comics, it's been around, it's a gaming webcomic. He read fucking articles from Kotaku and Polygon and Rock Paper Shotgun, and he's like, wow, clearly this is a hate movement. So he has a whole thing where his character is protecting someone who's drawn to look like kind of like a Zoe Quinn from a Gamergate trying to get her, and it's like, we're gamers. We don't want you out of gaming. We want you to respect us. And since you've chosen to do it the way you've chosen to do it, we've had to raise our voices. And I understand it's scaring the press and journalists. But it didn't have to come to this. We are an army of people, and the only thing that gets out from us is our voice now. Don't let them silence you. Don't let them fucking stop you. Let them make you feel ashamed. And let's tear their fucking palaces down. Go to Niche Gamer, Mindless Zombie Studios, Review Labs. Review Labs has moved out of Gamergate because they're getting a lot of shit for it, and that sucks. But at the same time, so is Mindless Zombie Studios. He's taken a bit of a break from it. Fine. We don't need journalists in... We don't need the journals to actually be in the hashtags. We need the journalists and the publishers, the publications, to give us fair journalism. Ethical journalism. To give us the information, and then to give us their opinion. Not to give us their opinion as information. And that's it. I'm not even that mad at fucking people this week. Let's all go out and have a nice fucking day. and let's send the fucking emails.